So in this, I will be explaining how you can more utilize the AI things into your real-time solution which you are going to build. Right. So agenda is that why this matter now means why the things which we need to think beyond our day-to-day Gen AI and the co-pilot. So I will be explaining or touching upon the some concept also of the AI which you are listening in your day-to-day work itself. And I will be touching upon the MCP's fundamental, what is MCP and what is Sitecore Marketer MCP, and how we can extend that and utilize into our implementation and the project, and what is a responsible AI in practice, so that we should be know about how to utilize the Sitecore AI. So as I was explaining, this is about me, myself, Amit, and I'm having around a total 21 years of experience and currently working with the Avnat, which is a joint venture of Microsoft and Accenture. So you can connect with me via any channel. You can scan the QR code and you can connect with me. And now coming to the session, first section is like a why this matter now. So, so as you are aware that you guys are using the most of the things from the Gen AI, right? So now everywhere is the AI. So every people, even each and every people is talking, whichever the SDLC process they are working, they are trying to utilize the artificial intelligence everywhere, right? So Gen AI and the co-pilot are the mainstream things. So all the technical or the non-technical people are utilizing in their day-to-day work, right? But the most enterprise, right? Enterprise means that the organization which is having a big implementation, or they are the regulatory bodies, or they are having a technical things, and they are looking for everything in terms of a secure, scalable things. So those organization, right, will not utilize the co-pilot in their actual implementation, right? Because the Gen AI only stops at the recommendation. It can draft, it can summarize, and it can give insight of any of the documentation. So if you are building up a any type of a RFP responses or anything, right? So people are in the BAs, or nowadays the solution architects also having their own agents, right? In a co-pilot, and they are feeding the data and it is generating the insight. So you do not need to go through the 100 plus pages to do that. But it's always better to give a walkthrough of whatever is currently present, because you don't need to rely on the AI fully, right? So this is the AI implementation challenges, because it cannot go beyond the suggestion or this, and the enterprise is basically not relying on this those suggestion and this, because they want all the things are the automation. So second point is execution as a bottleneck, right? So the real limitation challenge is that turning AI output into completed work. Suppose if you are giving a anything, right, draft a blog post, you are giving the prompt, it will draft. But how about us publishing it, giving the proofreading, removing any things, right? So those tasks cannot be done by this Gen AI and Copilot, because you need to move step further to do the things. And also it cannot complete the task. Suppose if you are working in a site code in your day-to-day work or the CRM, right? So if you are having anything, exploring the anything, right? Analyze this document or analyze this design and create a item in the site code. It can't do that, because they are not having the power to do so, because they are not having the access to the tools or anything, which is the role-based access. They are not having access to this. So that's why the execution will be stopping uh, into that manner. So the enterprise will work in terms of a integration. Why? Because they are having a lot of endpoint downstream systems where they need to get the data, set the data, and they wanted a end-to-end things, which is a human in loop, so that anyone who is watching is what the AI agent is doing, and they can verify that also. So one tips is that when you are working with the AI agent or anything, you always needs to give the prompt, so that anyone who is watching, right, they should having a clear responsibility what they are doing it. Otherwise it will be a issue for the organization. So always if you are writing any agent or anything, good to have a prompt to proceed further or not, get a you can say that a confirmation. So that's a one step of the responsible AI, so that people who are running it, the program should be aware what they are doing it. Okay, so that way the value, true value will coming from the AI when the integration point are there, which is also uh, you can say that governed by their role-based access, right? So those ways it will giving you the clear value through the integration. But the Gen AI and the Copilot can't do that. So AI can know what to do, but it cannot safely do it in a governed system. Governed system means that they will be not having the required access to execute the task. So the real business value is just not producing the data or do the day-to-day effort, right? So the real business value come for the this AI, or sorry, this enterprise organization is that if the task is completed safely, consistently, and also without less number of bugs. So right, so that's why we need a standardized, secure, and execution layer where the more component will comes into the picture, which I will be covering in the next slide. So where is the gap? Is that AI can create the draft, but it cannot go beyond in a governed system. So for that, we need a standard execution which will create a process, or you can say the steps, which is consistently and fulfilling the needs which is needed by the enterprise systems. So the within that there is a next slide is called the brain without the hands problem. So you know that when you are using a co-pilot or a gen, right? So your large language model or LLM, right, can create a blog post, right? But it cannot reliably create the pages, add a component, attach a asset, and publish the content in a respective governance, means a role-based access, because the model is not knowing what to do next, right? Or which tools needs to call, right? So AI is good in terms of a thinking, right? It can reason, it can draft the content, it can suggest the next step also to you. But it struggled to actually do things inside a enterprise system. Like for example, as I was explaining, right, AI can create a blog post, but it cannot safely create the content item and trigger a workflow or do anything, any other thing in the CMS or any CRM system without breaking any type of a access rules, right? So because all the systems rely on the clear governance, role-based access of the things, right? So that's why when you are working with the Gen AI or a co-pilot, it will give you the steps what to do next. Then the rest of the steps fall back to the manual steps, or you need to do some sort of integration, right? Ad hoc integration you need to create it to fulfill your task, right? So that's the core problem. So that's why the brain is there, but hands are missing, right? So that's why the co-pilot alone are not, you can say that the enough to do all sort of a task. So that's why the roles like agentic AI and MCP picture is into the comes into the picture, right? So you are getting the brain from the your LLM model, or you can say that the co-pilot and those things, and you are giving the hands to your processes which earlier was the manual to execute the task autonomously with the help of a agentic AI and the MCPs. So if you have any question, you can feel free to stop me and make it interactive so that I will be also got to know any new things which you are having in mind. So like I was explaining, right, AI LLM can do the reasoning and planning, right? And they can give you the ideas, they can draft, and they can give you the recommendation, right? But they cannot having a direct access to the enterprise system like a CMS, CRM, or workflow to execute the task, right? So in those cases, you will be taking the inputs, you will be going and you will be performing those tasks manual. So that is the execution gap which we can fulfill with the help of a MCP tools, or you can and the agentic AI tools we can fulfill those gaps. So now I will be touching upon the AI concept. So everyone is knowing about these words: Gen AI, Copilot, AI agents, and agentic AI, right? So generative AI, right? So it's a brain, right? Because generative AI model like a Claude or GPT-4, right? They are having a intelligent layer, or you can say that the engine, right? So that will be, you can say that the proficient or a excel in producing a new content, text, code, or images, whatever the ideas you can are thinking, they can do it for. Suppose if you need to draft any email, or you need to summarize the document, or you need to do the grammar check or anything, right? They can do that. So they are good in the content creation, summarization, or ideation. What should be the next step? What I need to do? They can give you the suggestion, but they don't have execution capability because they are not, and they are not also not having a direct access to the tool or systems, right? Like a you are using the chat GPT or a copilot to draft a blog, so they can do those things. So Copilot is the assistant, right? Copilots embed the Gen AI directly into the tools like a Visual Studio Code, Microsoft 365, or Cursor. You can directly embed those, and they observe user behavior, and they will take the context, and they will provide the suggestion in a real time, right? In context of a recommendation. For example, you are using the GitHub Copilot and doing some code review or something. So it will store the context what you have said in the previous. So there is some limitations are there, like a memory limitation or a token limitation. They can store some level of context in the memory, and based on what you have previously asked, they will give you the answer. So most of the times it's wrong because you are trying to ask another thing, but they are keep suggesting you the same things. So I hope you guys have also seen these type of issues. So in those cases, you need to correct that. No, I'm looking for this one because the context of that is different from this. So that's why it's always suggested to create a new session or something like that when you are working on a different task. So they can do the in context recommendation, co- code completion, and they can improve the productivity because they can write a code for you. But most of the time, the code which they are suggesting you, so in terms of a .NET, that is not going to work because they will be maybe using the context of a .NET Core, but you are working on a .NET 4.8, right? So in those cases, it will not work. So that's why you need to take the ideation from there, and you need to correct those codes, right? And they are having excellent user experience. Why? Because Copilot and those are giving you the output in a very presentable format. It's not a raw, right, data, because every data is coming in a JSON format, but they are having the capability to present in a user understandable format. That is their strength, but limitation is there is no, they are not autonomous and limited to the host application, because when you are using the Visual Studio Code and those things, so you cannot host anywhere. You need to have a local system to do that. So AI agent, right? AI agent is nothing but those are the specialists, right? Agents generally wrap the Gen AI with a specific goal and set of tools. They can execute predefined tasks such as fetching data, find all broken links, filtering result, or performing simple operation. So they can execute the task. For example, if you are building an agent for your travel itinerary, or you are trying to do some sort of a testing and you are having the playwright MCP tool, so you can create a specific agents which will do the task in terms of a testing. So suppose if anyone is coming and saying that, okay, please do the testing of this component. So if you are created the agent, specific agent for a testing, which will take or ask user for the what is the page URL, which component, and what type of testing you need to do, right? So those are the specific specialist which you are creating to perform any predefined task. So in agents, generally you will define a set of a instructions in the markdown file or anything. If you are using the AI Foundry or any sort of a agents, So you need to write a language, you need to write a code also what to execute. So it's a predefined execution task which it can perform. So and also it depend upon a level integration. So if you will say that if user is asking to do the testing, and then if you have written that use the playwright tool or do some sort of any other tool if you have buy it and you have written the instructions, then only it will do. It will not automatically explore or do anything, right? So limited planning unless combined with the agentic AI. So it can do a some set of work. For example, you need to, as I was telling, right, you are writing a testing agent or you are writing a travel itinerary agent or you have wrote a uh, agent which can retrieve the flight data. So from any API. So that is also one sort of a agent. So agentic AI, that is called a manager, right? So it introduces autonomy, reasoning, and planning instead of following a script. So what it will do, it will be the orchestrator only. So it will divide the tasks into goals, breaks the goals into the steps, and select tools and retries failures and evaluate the outcome. So suppose if you have used the agentic AI and you are having a suppose different set of MCP tools. So for example, you are having the your own custom MCP tool which is getting a data from a DB, for example, and you are having a some third party tool also which is giving the data from the uh, data from the external database. Okay, so suppose if you are writing the agent and you have just writing it that get the data from the database, and for example whichever tool you have mentioned the first, it will go to that, and suppose if that is failing, then automatically it will shift the goal to the it will explore the tools which you have given in the context, and then it will try to get the data from there, right? So it will work on the retries and failure concept also. So it will do the multi-step planning, tool selection, self-evaluation, and retries it, right? But it still need a secure access to the system because AI agent, if you are working with the any top sort of AI tool, if you will not say anything, it will not do anything. Or if it will do, then the output or steps may be wrong that you need to evaluate. So first thing you need to think of that if you are using any AI agent, it's not like that it is going to replace you. It is going to help you to produce the any of the tasks in a less time, right? It is not going to replace the any of the developer or anything. So because it still need a secure access to the system because it cannot automatically go and access and log into your site code tool, right? Because you haven't given access to do that. That is a limitation. So it also require a some sort of a guarding and a validation in terms of what it is doing that, and it cannot also safely discover the tool without the MCPs, right? So like you can think of agentic AI, a tool like a planning a trip by checking weather, comparing flights and booking within a constant. So in those cases, you are giving a instruction to do this. So the AI agent, what it will do, agentic AI, it will divide the goals into the small chunks of tasks like a weather, flights, booking. So so that is the main role of the agentic AI, like a as I said that the manager which will do all the things for you. So in terms of a capability matrix, it's a quick view. So for example, like a primary Gen AI, it can generate the content, it cannot take the action, it's not enterprise safe and best for. So whenever you will try to use any set of these things, so you can take a reference of this and you can think of that what it can do. Like agentic AI also is not enterprise safe without the MCP, but it's best for a complex goal. Like as I was giving the example, uh, to generate a travel itinerary by considering weather, booking hotel, and the flight, right? So, but one thing like you need to think of that whenever you are proposing any tool, so you always need to check first that your client is ready for these tools or not, because in currently in many industries, clients are still not adopting the AI in terms of their own data privacy or other things, right? So you need to think of that before proposing it. So there is a one more capability matrix I have created. across AI model like a generate content, operates autonomously, reasoning and planning, and standardized tool access. So now coming to the MCP fundamentals, right? So in previous slides, what we have learned that if you are using the agentic AI, you are using the agents, you are using the Gen AI or Copilot. So there are something missing between a AI and the enterprise system, right? Because you are looking for a standard tools discovery things. You are looking for a type safe connection between two of the system like a client and server. You are also looking for a permission and the audit trail, like who is going to access your system, what they have access, right? And consistent execution gateway, right? So those things you are looking for. So in those cases, the MCP comes into the picture, right? So without these piece of a MCP, or you can say that the layers, you end up with a ad hoc integration, because when you are creating any agent, you can also give a path to any API, and you can say that to your agent that access this weather tool, this is my user ID and password, right? But you need to explicitly mention that. But that is not enterprise safe, because you need to write those credentials, or you need to give the prompt to take those. So you need to ping that. You cannot store those into the key vault or anything to do that, right? So in those cases, MCP is a standardized tool which can access the backend system, and also it can execute the task. So in simple word, what is MCP? It's an open standard for AI tool to interact. It will do provide the tool discovery and the invocation. It's a typed schema. It's predictable call, because MCP client will be knowing that what type of data needs to be passed to access the MCP tools which are on the server. Permission scope, because when you are writing any MCP tools, you will be giving a, suppose if it's authenticated things like how you are having the Sitecore one, right? MCP tool. So if you are not having access to Sitecore AI tenant, you won't be able to access that. So in terms, it is a permission scope, and auditability and governance is there, because you are not doing any changes here, but you are directly doing in the server. So if you are having the logging mechanism there, like how you are using the Sitecore AI Marketer MCP tool, if you are updating by logging from in the Marketer MCP tool, so it's take your credential and it will log the details in the system, how who is updated, or those things will be there in the log. So that way you are giving the auditability and the governance. So MCP is not an AI model, it's a bridge which is fixing the gap to connect with the uh, downstream system to perform a task. So MCP is provided a contract between an AI host and the tool server. It's an infrastructure save, it's a governed execution, right? So, and also first of all, it's an open standard. So if you are writing any MCP tool in a .NET or a Java, anyone can use that. So that is the main thing, right? So it's enable the tool discovery also for you, and it will not do the reasoning or anything like how the AI model do that. So it's not an AI model. It does not do the reasoning or planning or make decision, because those things will be we have given to the agent, and agent is now try to perform the autonomous task. It will automatically select the specific tool which you have told to use it, and it will execute, and it will be pass on those you can say that the payload to the MCP client, and MCP client will be passing back to the MCP server. So in simple word, MCP mental model like host client server. So like here you are seeing that AI API host is there, right? So this you can think of a simple words like you are using the GitHub Copilot or anything where you are trying to access the Sitecore Marketer MCP tool. So that will be treated as a MCP client. And when you are performing or doing anything, right? So there is a JSON RPC remote procedural calls will be there. So that will be stdio or streamable http. So when you are defining any, you can say that a, let me quickly give you the insight. So suppose if you are trying to access any of the MCP tool, so you will define that what is the type of that, right? So in those cases, you will be defining a type, and then based on the MCP client, it will discover the tool and it will call that MCP server, and MCP tower internally calls specific tools or method, and then internally whatever the logic you have wrote, it will be executed and the result will be returned to the user. So that way, when you are telling that, okay, create a article for me, right, based on these things, and use this template to create a sitecore item under the site ABC, right, under the page. Suppose you are having the article folder, right? So in those cases, your MCP tool will be automatically able to discover that which MCP server needs to call and the method, right? So that way you are giving a complete autonomous things, right? So that way it will be filling the uh, gap from the AI to the all the governed system or enterprise system. So whenever you hear MCP server, think of a service that exposes tool, the host contain MCP client, and that list the tools. So if you have used the Sitecore Marketer MCP tool, so you will find that they are having a more than 28 tools to do the work. So like I was explaining, host where the user interact, client where speaks MCP protocol, server exposes the tool, resources and prompts, and clients discovers tool and invoke them safely. Safely means that, as I was giving the example, you will be giving your own credential and other things. So that way it will be a safe. So now if I am combining both agentic AI plus MCP, so you are having a user goal like please create itinerary for me in a specific weather, book a room, book a flight for me. That is user goal. So agentic AI will do the reasoning and it will do the planning, and based on that it will invoke a specific tool on MCP, specific MCP server. So MCP server will validate the input which you have provided, right? And if it's those are correct, then it's fine. Otherwise, it will give the failed method because it is a type safe. So it will expect something. So if you have used the Sitecore Marketer MCP tool, so if you will say that give me the item details, if you are not providing the path or a ID of a, your item and the site, how the site code will be go and able to find that under which site your items is present. Or if you are giving the path or a ID, then it can get that from your tenant. But if you are not giving anything, it can't do anything, right? So that's why MCP server validate and execute, and it will interact with the enterprise system like a CMS, APIs or DB, whatever you have created a tool, it will give it to you. So this is the core loop where the agent AI decides what MCP controls how safely, and MCP return facts like what you are looking for, feedback into the reasoning. So in terms of why enterprises adopt the MCP, because it's a standard protocol, it's discoverable and also predictable inputs and output because it's a type safe, and auditability and the governance is by design. So that's why most of the people nowadays are creating the MCP tools to provide the automation to your systems. So what MCP tool cannot do, right? So these are the clear boundaries which makes MCP enterprise friendly. Like it does not reason, plan, or choose goals. It does not make a decision. It does not enforce schemas and permission. Does executes and provide auditability, right? So these are the things you need to be aware of. So now coming to the Sitecore Marketer MCP. So what Sitecore did, that Sitecore also provided the Sitecore Marketer MCP. So if you have seen the Agentic Studio and all the things which you are doing it nowadays. So everything is at the end is the some APIs which are exposed by a MCP tool. So Sitecore Marketer MCP applies the MCP to the Sitecore marketing task, right? So basically it's for the marketer. If a marketer needs to do the some sort of a content creation, so what it will do, it will map the prompts to the govern tool exposed via the agent API. So at the end, there are the agent APIs is being used in a Sitecore Marketer MCP, right? So Sitecore Marketer MCP shows how AI can safely act inside the Sitecore ecosystem. It will not just suggest you what to do, but it will perform a all the tasks which is meant for the marketer, right? Like it will use the your natural language, like AI agents can perform real action like creating a pages, updating a component, managing asset, and triggering any sort of a workflow. Those things can be doable by the Sitecore Marketer MCP. So as you are seeing that, right, it's a set of a tool set. It will act in a natural language way like a prompt, and it will map that prompt to the executable action, and then the marketer MCP will connect agents to Sitecore tool through Sitecore agent API, and internally it will do the task, and you can execute these marketer MCP by connecting to the any set of LLM. So I was showing this, right? So if you are seeing here, so I have this is for the uh, Visual Studio Code. So where you generally will create a mcp.json file inside the mcp.json like this. So now they have changed the API endpoint. It's a marketer dot I think Sitecore Cloud dot AI something like that. So you need to change that. So when you will open this your solution in the Visual Studio Code, there will be a start button will be coming. So if you will start it, it will ask you for to log into your Sitecore AI instance. And when you will log in, and it will ask you to select your tenant also. So once it is done, then automatically it will be starting. Then you can say that create a page or anything, then automatically it will decide which uh, tool needs to call and it will perform the actions. So capabilities and architecture, like previously you have seen about a normal agent, right, which I was showing to you. So it is more in terms of a, you can say that the Sitecore CMS like AI host, VS Code, MCP client, marketer MCP, and internally Sitecore agent API are there, which is interacting with the Sitecore platform, right? So Sitecore marketer MCP generally will unlocks the real content and marketing actions, and it will provide the standard MCP tool so that you can interact with the Sitecore, and it's a safe because it's work on uh, your credential only, so it's the governance it is providing, and that's why it's a consistent because it will do the consistent operation. It's not like that it will give you the different output when you are doing anything. So when you are telling to create the item, it will create the item. It's not like that it will do and create a rendering for you. So here I have tried to explain before versus after. So before MCP AI suggests steps. So suppose when the MCP tools were not there. So if you will say that to your Copilot or Gen AI, I wanted to create a Sitecore item, what I needed, right? So it will say you need a template and those things, and you need to log in into the Sitecore CMS, and you need to go to your content tree and right click and those things. So those suggestion it will give you, right? Then you need to, as a human, you need to follow those, and you need to click through the CMS UI and your result will be there. But whatever the task you were doing manually, it will replaced by the MCP tool. So that's way it's filling the gap which were missing when you were using the Gen AI and the other things. So coming to the extending MCP, right? That is the main things because as a developer, you always will be interested in how we can make the tool or a custom tool we can build that, right? So in terms of that, you can create MCP tool in any languages, right? But the main thing is that if you are exposing those tools with the larger audience, you need to do the deployment also, right? So you have to decide that what type of tool you have to build that. So suppose if you are building any developer productivity tool, right? So you don't need to deploy that. What you can do that you can just create the solution and you can check in into your repository. Even you don't need to run it, but you need to provide some sort of a uh, configuration how I was showing you, right? For this, so that every developer which is having a suppose .NET required .NET framework, they can run it. So that's why the Microsoft, sorry, so that's why the Microsoft is providing you the MCP SDK, which you can utilize it and you can build up your own custom MCP tools, right? So let me quickly share the solution with you. So here, what I did that I have created a custom Visual Studio solution, right? So here I have created a I have used some repository, public repository, so they are already having the this eco tool, monkey tool, selling tools, and those things. So this I have created Sitecore AI tool, right? What I have wrote a simple things, right? Get child details, right? So here I am using my own credentials or anything, and I am using the Sitecore AI service to get a data. So generally, when you are working with the any of the custom tools or any tools, so you need to start, you need to use the ASP.NET Core, right, to build up these MCP tool, because this C Sharp MCP, this SDK, right, MCP C Sharp SDK is compatible with the using the ASP.NET Core. So generally you need to it's that you need to utilize the Microsoft Data.SQL Lite, Microsoft extension hosting, and Microsoft model context protocol. These packages you have to utilize that, or you need to use that. And after that, so if you will create that, you need to write some simple program.cs files, which you need to use the, here I am using the singleton because I am having a services. So I am utilizing that. So you need to do the service registration, or if you are doing some sort of a logging or anything. So all those things you need to uh, configure that, or you need to register that. So now coming to the tools, right? So when you are building any tools, like so let's say example of a site code tools. So this is the simple structures, right? So you need to decorate your class with the MCP server tool type. So what it will do, this tells the SDK it's a tool container. It means I am creating the Sitecore AI tool which is having a these many methods which you can utilize that. So individual method marked with the MCP server tool. So this is my single method. It is marked with the MCP server tool. So and each method should provide the clear description so that AI can understand what the tool does and when to use it, right? So we need to adhere to the simple design principle. So be goal oriented, not the CRUD operation, right? Instead of exposing a raw get sales method, name and describe it as a summarized daily sales by channel, right? So it means whenever the your AI till AI agent you have wrote, right, it will be easily able to match what you have said. So for example, if you are telling to get the sales data, right, so people will not tell that give me the sales data. It will say that summarize the sales from a this channel. So that way you need to give a uh, description or anything in a human understandable format, like how I have tried to did that in terms of a this tool is that description is that retrieve child item details from Sitecore by specifying an item by ID or language, right? So this is my description, or whichever parameter I am giving it, right? So I am also telling that the item path needs to give or the item GUID. So I'm giving the example also because your AI will be not knowing what to ask for the end user, and I am giving the it is a string or a number. So that way you need to decorate that, right? So that if you are calling anything in your after integrating with your any Copilot, GitHub Copilot, it should be easily accessible and explored. So this is my method, and I have also created a service, right? So in service, what I am doing that I have wrote a method which will just simply make a Edge GraphQL call, and it will take the GraphQL key and those things, and then it will perform a action and it will return the data, right? So this is a sample, so that's why I haven't used the environment variable. But if you are working with the your project or anything, so in those cases, what you can do that if you are working with the GitHub Copilot, here itself you can define the environment variable if you are running local. But when you are moving that to the any Azure Key Vault or anything, or suppose if you are deploying to the Azure functions, right? So that way you can utilize the Azure environment variable and you can get the data, sorry, credentials or anything from there itself. It don't needs to be hard coded. So that way you can create your own custom tool to be created. So let me show you the example how it is. Okay. So to use that, what I did that I have just sorry. So I did a disk configuration in night as I was telling that, right? You do not need to deploy anything to run this. So you just need to give the path, right? And you need to give the solution name and which things it needs to use to execute your code base. So suppose if you are using Java, so maybe there is a Java executable or something will be there. That way it will build the code. And where is your solution is there, you just need to give that, right? So if suppose if I will say tools, let's see what it will do. So it will give me the whichever the tool I am using it, so it will give me that. And my tool name is MCP Sitecore AI, right? How it will take that this MCP Sitecore AI, right? This is my solution, right? And from there I am having a get monkey sailing, get these things, right? So that way it will give me the list of the tools and what are the built-in tools. It is also list down there. Suppose if you have selected any tools while configuring it, it will do that. So let's say, so let me see that I will say get a full list of monkeys, right? So generally what it is trying to do that, so if you will go there to the service, it is utilizing this MCP service, right? Sorry, JSON endpoints. And from there it is trying to get a list of the monkeys. So let me show you also. So it's not a hard coded, it's a getting data from the some sources. So that's why it is giving a this. Suppose if I will say that tail of blue monkey, right? So let's see what it will do because it automatically get the data. Sorry, explore the method or discover the method, right? So you are saying it's a blue monkey, right? Also known as this. So it is getting the data from here itself, from these APIs itself, which is having a data like population or those things, right? So that is a one of the example, like if you are creating any custom, how you can get the data. So now let's see, get site code child item, right? So let me see, I am having any old item or not. Yes. So let me copy this for a, let me get child items, right? So let's see what it will ask. So you see that I told that here in the description in my tool, like it expect that the item path, right? Or the GUID. So same way it's asking you. So as I was telling that the Copilot is having a user experience, right? So this is the user experience. So it's asking me to provide me the item path or GUID. Suppose if I am giving this like this, so it will go to the this my code base which I have wrote, and it will get the data via APIs. And if you will see, I am providing the JSON data, and automatically it will present in a user understandable format, right? So there is has no child item, this, right? So like that you can, let me see if I am having a, let's access this. So now this time I am passing a, so here currently I am not using the Sitecore Marketer MCP tool. I have wrote a my own custom just for testing purpose. So see, so when I am getting the data, I am just returning the JSON, right? So it's automatically presenting the data. So that task is done by your copilot. So that way you can create any set of, you can say that the custom MCP tools, which is not currently present in the Sitecore Marketer MCP, or if you are performing any activity, or you can say that you are having a list of a data in any JSON or anything, then you want to import that data into Sitecore or any third party tool, right? So you don't need to write any sort of, you can say the batch job or anything. You can create your MCP tool and it can do that. So that way you can extend the things and you can explore the things how you can create that demo which I have shown you, the responsible AI, right? As I was telling. So this you should be aware of, about that, what is responsible AI, right? So responsible AI is the practice of designing, deploying and operating AI system so they act safely, transparently and predictability, right? In other words, responsible AI ensure AI system operates safely. So whenever you are doing any sort of things, so recommendation is that start with the non-critical content, right? And govern for a safe AI adoption and responsible AI principle, you need to apply that. So that way, if you are presenting anything, any tool, so you can give the confidence of the audience, like you are doing everything responsibly, you are following the safest way, right? So you are avoiding any things which are not auditable, right? And you are also enforcing the infrastructure. Also, you are adding the required tools. Suppose if you're deploying that to the Azure as a function, so you are having the role-based access, who can execute or not, least privilege, logging and monitoring. So those things you are doing it, so that you should be aware about that. So key takeaway, and I've reached to that Q&A section also. The key takeaway is that so agentic AI plans MCP execute safely. Marketer MCP, this operationalize AI inside Sitecore because you can utilize the tasks which generally authority team or any admin team is doing manually. In terms of marketing, you can utilize the marketer MCP and you can host the tool into the VS Code, which is free, but you require the GitHub Copilot or those tokens or subscriptions you need it. And you can also even create a custom MCP tool if you wanted to extend that. So now with this, I have concluded the session. If any questions or anything, feel free to ask me.
Yeah, Amit, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Now, I just wanted to understand how, because the API is something which we have that is kind of a bridge in between tools, right? Any
Yes.
two tools which we are communicating, we will use AI, I mean API. But in this particular case, MCP
Mhm.
coming into the picture,
Yes.
so it is just before the API we will get into MCP, or how functions it is with respect to the
See,
security?
yeah, good question. So what happened that when you are using any MCP tools, right? So MCP tool is nothing but just a, you can say that a clear separations you are doing that. You are not doing the point to point integration, right? So instead of that, you have created a wrapper on top of your API, which you have created as a uh, MCP server, right? And that MCP server, when you are adding that into your tools or anything, right? Like this. Okay. So here you are defining the tools, right? So like how the MCP Sitecore Marketer MCP is working, that you are mentioning as a type. So when you are executing it, it is when it will try to explore or a access or connect to the MCP server, right? Internally, it will automatically ask you for a login credentials, right? So you
Yeah.
have exposing a credential, or you can say that the authentication before it reaches to your backend API itself. So that way you are making it secure. And when that is secured, then only you are allowing to access your API endpoint via the MCP methods which you have wrote in the your any of the tool, like these tools you have created, right? Any custom tool. So that way you are doing the early governance who can use that.
Mhm.
Otherwise, no one can use that your tools.
Okay. Through MCP, we are safe to access any AI tools, right?
No, which any AI tool is not.
Because
If any system, like so let's say example of Figma, right? Everyone is aware about Figma, right? Figma is a MCP tool providing, right? But if you are not having the MCP tool for Figma, you can't use that. There are the some tools, uh, or you can say that a testing tools. They have still not have the MCP tools in place, so you can't use that. If the product which you are using is providing the MCP tool, then only you can use it, like a Sitecore, Figma, Playwright, right? So those are providing, then only you can use that.
okay, got it. We can't customize the existing MCP servers
No,
which are available in the
because you,
market. That is not possible.
yeah, because you are not, it's similar to product, right? You can't do
Mm-hmm.
the update in the Sitecore API, right? Because it's a company provided, product provided.
Mm-hmm.
But you can create your
One.
own on top of those. Like I, for how I created, right? This just to
Mhm.
showcase a sample how you can do that. Same way you can create your own services or a tools as many you wanted to create, you can do that.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so coming to your question, right? If a client wants secure utilization of AI, will using MCP allow them to use AI to get? Yes. So suppose in terms of a when you are going to the client or anything, right? You will not say that you are utilizing the MCP tool, right? What you will say generally to the client, you are going to utilize the AI for the efficiencies. So you will not say under the hood what you are going to use that. That is the thing. Because
But
client,
sometimes
yes.
what happens, if let's
Mm,
say it can be a
mm,
finance domain client or anything, right, where they are
mm.
having more secure network and they are need to go through the compliance approval. So that's why actually those kind of client is kind of a bit no hesitant to use AI, because in that case somewhere they feel that their data is not secure, and
Yes, yes,
maybe
yes. So
yeah.
see that you already gave your answer, because if you are working with the finance domain, right? I told you in the starting there are the some restricted governments are there in many organizations which still hesitant to use the AI, right? In any of their work item. So this finance domain are those. So suppose if you are going to propose that you are going to create a custom MCP tools, right? So that you can utilize with the GitHub Copilot. So there are two work here. One is that are they allowing you to use the AI? If yes, are they allowing you to use the GitHub Copilot or not? If they are not, then you can't do that, right? Or if you are not using the Claude, so they are allowing to use you to use the Claude, yes. Then are their system, the backend system or the downstream systems, are exposed in a manner in a secure way so that you can access them or not? So those things you need to clear it out when you are proposing these tools.
Okay, so maybe in that case we can use the custom MCP that you have shown. So maybe we can create a custom MCP tool where on top of that, finally we can use some AI APIs and all to make things
Yes,
secure.
but in any cases, you are utilizing the LLM model, so you should have a
Mm-hmm.
confirmation. Are we allowed to use the this specific LLM model and this GitHub Copilot or not?
Okay.
If not, then you can't do anything. If you will create also MCP tool, what will you do if you are not having the Claude or GitHub Copilot, right? You can't
Mm-hmm.
utilize that.
Okay, got you.
Otherwise, you need to deploy into the Azure AI Foundry. But there also, if they allow to use, if they will allow you to use the AI Foundry or Azure Functions to deploy your code there, and then it will be exposed to your Azure AI Foundry, and then you can utilize that as a chat assistant. So everything is connected. If the AI is not allowed in your domain, then or a client is not allowing you, you can't use that because their
Okay.
technical team should
Mm-hmm.
approve the GitHub Copilot, right, or whatever the Copilot you are Gen AI you are using it. So they should have a approval in place because in these organization they are having their own technical team who will evaluate the product, correct? And they are having their own set of guidelines, what are the role-based access and those things in place. Then only they will provide you the approval. And generally it will take 3 to 4 months to get approval in most of the organization, regulatory organization.
Yeah, that's true.
Any other questions for
Yeah,
me?
one question, like what is the learning curve for a .NET developer or any developer like to build a custom MCP tool or like from where they should start and which is the
Yeah,
like
so that's why I
differences?
just is showing this so anyone can scan this, right? So what,
Mm-hmm.
see, for me, because I have built many custom MCP tools, right? So for me, the main thing is that you are having a lot of resources, but you should be uh, knowing how to use that. So how you will learn that? It's good to download the tool, run it, debug it, because you can debug also. It's not like that you can't debug it. How you are debugging in normal .NET code, right? So Cloud I am not using generally. I'm using the GitHub Copilot. So what happened that in the GitHub Copilot or Visual Studio Code, so suppose if you are giving a, like I was showing you this thing, right? So suppose if you will add these instructions in your mcp.json file, and when you will run it, your code, right? You will say the instructions or anything. Before that, if you will go to your .NET and you will attach a debugger, there will be debugger will be called a MCP or .NET, right? And then you can debug it. So it will give you the idea. It is similar to how you are writing the API, right? So it will give you the idea how the things are working all together. So that way it will be easy to understand and create a tools. So it will be a how these things will be comes into the picture once you are trying to do the continuous improvement in your project or your organization. So if someone is doing manual work, right? If you are thinking how we can automate and how I can map that to the MCP tool, then you can quickly create it because you know the .NET. You just take the snapshot what needs to be created like this, and you can plug in your things, right? And then you need to orchestrate your tool like that. You need to give the clear instructions, right? That is the you can say that the backbone or a main point. You need to think of how easy prompt you will give so that your AI agent easily explore which method. So if you are seeing here, right? So I gave the simple example here. So it automatically started giving me the this, right? Give me the provide the path and those things, right? So you should know the things which generally people will ask. So that way you can easily build up. So it's a good learning curve also here.
Okay. And currently, like the Sitecore MCP tool, so is it like only
Yes.
for cloud or can we use it for XP, XM?
No, it's only for cloud. So that's why I
Mm-hmm.
was telling you, I have created a many tools which you can think of is not having. Currently, there is no marketer MCP tool for the on-prem XMXP. It's only for AI. So if you need
Okay.
to automate,
Mm-hmm.
you can think of how you can utilize the your current .NET code base or a knowledge which you are having to build up the MCP tool. That way you can showcase the real value, right, in your organization.
Okay, got you. So for that, we need to create a kind of custom MCP tool.
Then you need to
Right.
think of what are the options are present from the Sitecore 10 or whatever you are using it,
Mm-hmm.
which you can utilize that, right?
Okay.
Maybe using Sitecore APIs login
Right.
mechanism,
Without
I think.
API you
Item
can't do anything.
item
Mhm.
services and
So
all, maybe we can use that.
if the API is not there, then you need to build up the API and you need to
Mm-hmm.
expose, and that you need to consume in the Sitecore, your custom MCP tool. So you need to explore that, connect the dot, and then you
Okay,
can build up that.
got you.
Yeah, for any kind of a migration or any items creation,
Yes,
and it requires
yes.
some.
Uh, yeah, I was telling, right? Suppose you need to create a
Mm-hmm.
large amount of content and client gave you the JSON file or they gave you the CSV file. Generally, people will do, right? And then
Yeah.
you can do give anything this to tester, right? And you can developer can do any other work, correct? So that
Mm-hmm.
way you can showcase the value. Okay, I have created the MCP tool and this is the Excel sheet. Give it to the your any agent you have created and it will automatically create, and then your tester can go and verify that it's there or not. But that also you can automate with the help of a agent.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the prompts which you are giving, right? So it is purely from the custom MCP server you are getting, right?
Yes, yes. So if you will see that, I was forget to show you. See, this is my payload, right?
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
and same payload I have defined here. So as I was telling that it's a type safe, right?
Mm.
So automatically it will take it because
Oh,
when you are creating the MCP tool, this snapshot, right, will be shared with the client, not the code base. Okay,
okay.
because this is the handshaking, or you can say that the payload or a schema will be shared with the MCP client. MCP client is this one, right? Your Cloud
Mm.
A or a Visual Studio Code, and that knows which parameter and what is the type of that needs to be expected from the user who is creating the prompt. And also you are saying it's the output is like this, right? But your co-pilot is presenting in a user understanding format. For this, I don't need to write anything.
Okay. So this is the MCP which you have written that is fetching the data, but you're injecting or exposing to A as well, right? Here with the cloud.
No, what I am doing that, what I was showing you, I am using the, this is my code, right? I am using the Edge GraphQL API endpoints
Okay. So
to
it's
get
kind
a
of just
data.
exposing our API and getting the data, right? It is.
Yes, yes, yes. So I am
Mm,
using, see what I did that I have created a MCP tool, which is nothing but a wrapper of my API who is connecting
mm,
with the
mm,
site core. But here AI only will know that what parameter needs to be get. It's not having access to my API, it's having access to my method. If I will ask for a credentials like how Sitecore Marketer MCP tools do that, I can add a one more level of a authorization right on top of my tool.
mm.
So before executing it, you can also ask to give a credentials, and that credential you can store into a storage or anything that can be also doable. Like if you have used Sitecore Marketer MCP, I was explaining, right? So
Mhm.
it will ask you when you will run the MCP server, like because when you are using the VS Code, there is a button coming called a run. So once you will
Yeah.
run it, automatically it will prompt you to log in. So that
Mhm.
is a authentication, and then authorization. Once you will authenticate, it will tell you to authorize which tenant. So you are already giving the access to execute that, right?
Yeah.
And then it will be having those context for that specific tenant, and it will give you the data. That's why you are having a governance, and the logging auditing will be there. Same way you can write any custom logic here to do that. How you are writing in the API, right? Some
Yeah.
API you are doing that, but you are expecting some sort of a header, right, to be passed. If that header is not there, then it's a bad request.
Mm, 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 mm. Right.
So that way you can secure that. That is up to you, miss, which layer of security you need to be add into your custom MCP tool. But you are not
Okay.
giving the code here, but you are just exposing your tools so that your
Okay.
agent can identify that which things needs to be, because just I give get child details, right? So if
Mhm.
child is coming, then it will automatically identify, okay, I am having a this set of tools and child is coming into this, so I need to prompt this, select this tool, right? That is coming as a brain, right, coming into the picture, and then the tools will be the MCP, which is bridging the gap.
Got it. Got it.
Okay, I guess we are done with the existing questions. And if
Mhm.
anybody has any other questions, maybe they can directly connect to Amit. He is like very active in community, or they can come like directly come to us, and then we'll propagate the things to Amit, and we'll get that answer. And I guess with this, I guess we're done with the session. So thanks, Amit. Thanks for the great insights on this topic. This
Thank
is
you.
a this is a main topic that is going around the world as of